I'd like to ask you your opinion. What grade do you give Donald Trump for his first 100 days? I would give him an A+, particularly when you look at the headwinds, that the media despises him in ways probably even deeper and more pathologically than they did the first time around. Academia despises him. And when the man has taken a meat cleaver to the size of government, when I have been saying for decades, Democrats don't even believe big government's a problem. The average Republican wants to take a pocket knife to a problem that requires a machete. And Elon Musk appears on that stage holding a chainsaw. I'm smelling what he's cooking. Ronald Reagan, as I've said before, ran in 1980 promising to shut down the then new Department of Education. 8 years later, it was bigger than before. Donald Trump has signed an executive order to shut down the Department of Education. The current Secretary of Education says her job is to shut it down. Whether that can be done without Congress is debatable, but at least this man is making a huge, huge and serious attempt. We were told for 4 years, that the only way for the borders to really be secured is through comprehensive immigration reform coming out of Congress. As President Trump said in his first joint address before Congress, you didn't need new legislation, you needed a new president. And I'm old enough to remember in the waning months of the Jimmy Carter administration, the so-called Mariel boat lift, and Haitians, there might have been about 150,000, 200,000 Cubans and Haitians coming into Florida from the seas. And initially, Jimmy Carter said, we welcome them with open hearts and open minds. And then public opinion turned nasty, and he reversed policy. We're talking about maybe 200,000 people. In the last 4 years, perhaps a minimum of 15 million illegal aliens. We're not sure because we don't know how many so-called gotaways there were. As many as 15 million illegal aliens were intentionally allowed to enter the country. Some were convicted murderers in their host countries. Some went on to murder people here. Some were violent criminals in their host countries. Some went on to commit violent crime and will commit more violent crime while they're here. Done by design. And during the first several months of the Biden administration, I have my remote control in my hand, and I'm watching Fox. And then I click over to watch CNN, and then I click over to watch MSNBC Hee-Haw. And I always said to myself, what's the over-under on how many seconds it will take for the hosts on CNN and MSNBC Hee-Haw to mention Donald Trump's name if they weren't already when I cut it on? And the average was around 25 seconds. But absolutely nothing about the borders. You had Bill Maloogian, the Fox reporter on the border who speaks fluent Spanish, and drones were overhead documenting hordes of illegal aliens from something like 140 different countries coming into the border, unheeded, unvaccinated, unvetted, and CNN, MSNBC, Hee-Haw not even covering it. Not day after day failing to cover it, not week after week failing to cover it, but month after month. It wasn't until the governor of Texas and the governor of Florida put illegal aliens on buses and sent them up north to Chicago, to New York, to Martha's Vineyard, forcing ABC, NBC, CBS, and the rest of the so-called legacy media to begin covering this. Are you kidding me? And there was one poll, 1 year, 2.5 million illegal aliens came in that particular year under Joe Biden. And a poll asked Americans, how many illegal aliens came to the country that year? The average guess was 250,000, meaning the average American was uninformed by a factor of 10. And then we had inflation. And what did the Biden administration say? That inflation would hit 9% per year was transitory, temporary. Trump has come in, and now the rate of inflation has gone down. Is he getting credit for it? Now, the reason for the price of eggs going up had primarily to do with the flu. But the price is down substantially. And meanwhile, you had a host over on one of the cable news outlets, a congresswoman, claiming that the price of eggs has not gone down. Apparently, she's not doing the shopping for eggs in her household. And then you have Doge. Every president, Barack Obama, both Bushes, Clinton, has talked about waste, fraud, and abuse. Al Gore was tasked with the job of getting out waste, fraud, and abuse. I remember him coming on one of the late night talk shows talking about some of the stupid things government does with our money. But has anybody done what Donald Trump has done with Doge and Elon Musk? Literally eliminating USAID and talking about all the wasteful programs our taxpayer dollars have been spent on. It's been absolutely incredible. And then this brings us to DEI. What is the vision of MLK? That someday people will be evaluated based on content of character and not the color of skin. In comes President Barack Obama, signs an executive order mandating the use of DEI. In comes President Joe Biden, mandating the use of DEI in every facet of the government. Trump comes in, looks at this nonsense, and suggests that maybe, just maybe, we ought to be hiring people based upon merit, not based upon gender, not based upon skin color. And he begins eliminating program after program after program, to the point now where recruitment for the various service branches is soaring, because now people realize the military is about a force that can fight and defend for the country, and not some social experiment designed to check boxes. It has dramatically changed the way the country is doing business, not just in the military, of course, but in academia and in corporate America. What an incredible breath of fresh air. When race-based preferences has been on the ballot in places like Michigan and in California, it's lost. Somehow, some way, the left convinced itself that Americans don't want a colorblind society. They want a color-coordinated society. And then there's foreign policy. Sebastian Gorka, our former colleague here on Salem, is the head of counterterrorism. And he says in the first 100 days of the Trump administration, there have been 70 high-valued targets, HVTs, that have been neutralized, killed or captured, including the mastermind behind the Abbey Gate slaughter of 13 service personnel in the wake of the disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. That man has now been captured because the rules of engagement have been changed. It is the most extraordinary 100 days of any president I have ever seen. And number 45-47 is just getting warmed up.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.